Wakanda uncovered an alien, too ancient to speak, too still to be dead. Black Panther freed it, believing he was saving knowledge, not inviting war. But the alien didn't leave. It hid, deep inside Hulk's mind. And when Hulk finally snapped, it wasn't just rage. It was strategy, coordination, murder. The Avengers turned on each other. And only Hawkeye could sense the truth, that this betrayal didn't start with Hulk, it started with the king. The ground beneath Wakanda trembled, not with footsteps, not with war, but with something older, something deeper. The vibranium sensors didn't detect seismic activity. They detected a pattern, a rhythm, a pulse. Beneath the Temple of Bast, a signal had begun, faint, encoded in frequencies older than language. It wasn't noise. It was intentional. It was calling. Shuri watched the readings for days, sleepless. This wasn't a quake. It was a message coming from below. The heart-shaped herb had shown her glimpses before, dreams of something buried under the throne, something locked away long before the first Black Panther ever wore the suit. T'Challa didn't wait for permission. He assembled a deep mining team in secret. No Avengers, no global alert, not even a word to the Dora Milaje. He wasn't looking for help. He was looking for origin. The excavation went deeper than any vibranium dig Wakanda had ever sanctioned. The deeper they went, the more their equipment malfunctioned. Magnetic interference, heat spikes, shadows where no light should fall. And then they found it. Not a ship, not a temple, a tomb, perfectly spherical, seamless stone, humming with life. Inside, floating weightlessly in a zero-gravity field, was a figure, naked, pale, humanoid, but not human. No visible breathing, no scars, no decay, no tech. It was preserved perfectly, like it was waiting. Shuri begged him not to open it. "T'Challa, we don't know what this is. This might not be for us." He stared through the chamber glass, voice low. "Or it was meant for us, meant for Wakanda. What if this is where it began?" She looked at him like she already knew what he was about to do. "And what if this is where it ends?" But it was too late. The moment the seal broke, the stasis field collapsed. The figure inside disintegrated into dust and wind, swirling into nothingness. No explosion, no scream, no trace, only silence. They ran every test. Radiation 0, energy spike none, threat level undetectable. T'Challa declared the site secure. The chamber was resealed. The discovery buried, both literally and politically. No word reached the Avengers. No one knew what had been released. And that was the mistake. Halfway across the planet, the Hulk was in the middle of a minor skirmish. A mutated frost giant had torn through a facility in Norway. Thor had called in backup. Bruce had been tired, reluctant. But he shifted anyway. The Hulk fought without hesitation, but something was different. He didn't roar. He didn't smash randomly. He targeted. He struck the power core, disarmed the creature's cryo-gauntlets before they could activate. And when the mission ended, the facility's systems were intact, as if Hulk had calculated the damage before throwing the first punch. When Thor returned to the Quinjet, he frowned. "Hulk," he said, "you were strategic." Hulk didn't respond. He just smiled. And Hulk never smiled like that. Over the next few days, things escalated. Satellite footage showed Hulk entering restricted Hydra storage bunkers in the Alps, alone. He bypassed their defenses without setting off a single alarm. He tore through reinforced doors, removed data cores, and left without harming a single human. Bruce had no memory of any of it. He woke up panicked, shaking. Not because of what Hulk did, but because of what he didn't do. There was no destruction, no collateral, no rage, only precision. Tony reviewed the mission footage. This isn't random. Someone's directing him. Strange tried to probe Hulk's astral state, but every attempt bounced back with a warning he'd never seen before. A phrase, written in a language that didn't exist. He translated it anyway. The general walks again. Back in Wakanda, T'Challa couldn't sleep. The dreams had returned, not of kings or ancestors, but of something else. Eyes, eyes that weren't his own, watching him from inside the tomb. Not judging, not waiting, just listening. And then the vision came. Hulk, standing in a crater, breathing fire. Behind him, thousands of shadows falling from the sky. Not ships, bodies. Shuri cornered him in the lab. "You didn't destroy the alien, did you?" He didn't answer. "You told me it was dust, that it faded. But dust doesn't leave a pulse signature. Dust doesn't whisper." He looked up slowly. It never left. Shuri stepped back. "Where is it?" He closed his eyes. Inside the one it could use. Across the globe, the Avengers received a silent alert. Not from Banner, from SWRD. Hulk had just disabled one of their orbital platforms, using alien code. No casualties, just a warning burned into the steel. "You prepared your weapons. Now prepare your surrender." They thought it was a joke, a rogue AI, a virus. But Clint Barton didn't laugh. He couldn't see anymore, not with eyes. But ever since his encounter with the aliens months ago, he could sense shifts in heartbeat patterns, micro vibrations in speech, movement before intent. He listened to Hulk breathe through a live feed. That wasn't Hulk. That was a commander. One that knew how to kill a god. And in the deepest layer of Wakandan archives, behind layers of ancient protective spells, one document flickered on a recovered vibranium tablet. It was thousands of years old, drawn before Wakanda ever touched the sky. It told of an alien entity that came from between stars, a creature not of conquest, but of calculation. One that never arrived with armies, because it only ever needed one host. One body strong enough to carry its war. And T'Challa, king of Wakanda, had just set it free. There was a moment of stillness before it all broke apart. In orbit above Earth's shadow line, Hulk hovered in a stolen SWRD drop pod. No crew, no systems online, just Hulk and something else inside him. The pod was no longer a transport. It had been reshaped. The control panel had been ripped out and replaced with etched glyphs, glowing with energy no scanner could read. He wasn't just floating. He was building something. Below, in Avengers Tower, Stark ran the numbers again. Every move he's made, every data core he's taken, every station he's hit, it's not chaos. It's coordinates. The big guys laying out a lattice across Earth's orbit. But for what? Strange stared at the projected glyphs. A lens. A field generator. Something big. Something old. Not from here. Captain Marvel hovered by the window, fists glowing. "You're all acting like we still have time. We don't." Steve stepped forward. "We don't take Hulk out unless we're sure. We're not executing one of our own on a hunch." Clint didn't speak. He just adjusted his blindfold and turned toward the sky. He could feel Hulk's heartbeat, but it wasn't matching his breath anymore. It was matching someone else's. In Wakanda, Shuri pieced together the last surviving records from the tomb. Her lab was silent except for the low hum of ancient vibranium. She stared at the alien text projected in front of her, translated line by line. She whispered the title of the document, "The General Who Became the Weapon." It wasn't a prophecy. It was a warning. The alien Black Panther had released was once a strategist, a mind designed for interstellar conquest, not through force, but through manipulation. Its kind didn't invade planets. They inhabited them, one host at a time. It didn't matter if the host was willing. It only needed them to be angry, broken, and strong enough to survive the transformation. Hulk wasn't the first, just the final one. On the moon's far side, Hulk struck again. This time, he dismantled a Kree listening post, not with brute strength, but with precision. He cut their power source in 3 moves, accessed data systems no one knew existed, and left without a scratch. When Thor arrived 5 minutes later, the station was empty. Only one thing remained. A message burned into the wall, carved in Hulk's handwriting. "You were never ready." Thor returned furious. "He doesn't speak like this. Not even Banner. This is something else." T'Challa remained silent in the meeting that followed, until Clint stood up and faced him. "You freed it." T'Challa looked at him, unmoving. "You unsealed something ancient, and you lied about it. Whatever's inside Hulk It started with you. Natasha's eyes narrowed. Is that true? T'Challa nodded once. I believed I could control it. I was wrong. Tony slammed a fist on the table. You think? Captain Marvel stepped forward. We end this now. Hulk is a bomb, and it's already counting down. But Steve didn't move. Neither did Strange. Because they all felt the weight of what it meant. Killing Hulk wasn't just execution. It was surrender. It was admitting they couldn't save one of their own, even if he wasn't alone in there anymore. That night, Bruce surfaced for just 5 minutes. He called Shuri, sweating, crying, trembling. I can't stop it. I see what it sees now. I don't just feel rage, I feel strategy, tactics. It's planning everything in advance. It's rewriting how I think. It's erasing me. Shuri said nothing. Bruce's voice broke. It's building something in orbit. A receiver. A transmission hub. It's calling others. She whispered, how many? He didn't answer. But the silence said enough. At dawn, a storm gathered over the Pacific. Not clouds, gravity distortions. The sky folded inward. Heat signatures reversed. The ocean pushed upward. And from the center of it, the first signal tower rose. A construct of steel, bone, and gamma radiation, built from space debris, fueled by Hulk's own blood. The Avengers launched immediately. Iron Man led the airstrike. Strange activated dimensional shields. Thor flew into the center, hammer crackling. But the tower defended itself, not with guns, with echoes. It projected sound waves of the Avengers' own worst memories, their regrets, their mistakes. Thor heard Odin's final words, distorted. Natasha heard screams she couldn't save. And Iron Man, he heard Peter Parker, screaming again. They hesitated, and Hulk arrived. He didn't land, he descended, calm, controlled, expressionless. He stepped between them and the tower and spoke one sentence. You are not my mission. Then he struck, not wildly, but surgically. He broke Thor's ribs, cracked Iron Man's repulsor core, threw Strange through his own portal, and sealed it shut. Banner's voice didn't surface once, but inside he was still screaming. On the other side of the planet, Hawkeye sat alone. He'd felt every hit, every hesitation, and now he felt something new, something blooming under the Earth's crust. The second tower had begun to rise. The general wasn't trying to win this fight. He was trying to build a grid, a triangulated transmitter. One more tower and the signal would be complete. A message to the stars. A message from Earth, saying it was no longer under human control. T'Challa returned to the tomb. Alone, he dropped his claws, knelt, and whispered something no king had said in Wakanda in centuries. I was wrong. The tomb didn't answer, but the walls pulsed, and deep within his earpiece, Shuri's voice broke in. T'Challa, I have a way to pull it out of Hulk, but it will hurt him. He replied softly, then make it fast. Why? Because if this signal completes, no one's coming to save us. The world felt heavier as the second tower rose. It wasn't just a structure itself, a spiraling mass of metal, bone, and gamma radiation tearing out of the Amazon like the Earth was coughing up something it never wanted. It was the air, the gravity, the pressure, as if the planet was being pushed into a shape it wasn't meant to hold. The general inside Hulk was molding the Earth into a beacon, and the Avengers were losing too fast to stop it. Iron Man's armor was cracked from the last battle. Thor's ribs hadn't healed. Captain Marvel remained in orbit, trying to intercept the fragments that were still drifting toward the towers, magnetically drawn like pieces of a cosmic puzzle. But the worst sign came from Banner. He'd gone silent. Before, at least he whispered inside Hulk, cried through him, fought him. Now nothing. Clint felt that emptiness like a void in the wind. Whatever's inside Hulk is done playing, he murmured, standing on the helipad at Avengers HQ. It's fully in control. Steve approached him slowly. Can you still sense him? Barely. He's fading, like a candle in a storm. The captain's face hardened. Then we're running out of time. They were interrupted by a comms alert. Shuri's voice crackled through. "The second tower has activated a harmonic pulse," she said. "We've isolated the frequency. It's rewriting electromagnetic fields across the equator. If the third tower goes up, it completes the grid," Thor finished grimly. "And whatever's coming," Shuri added, "won't be small." In the Amazon, the tower pulsed with alien energy, and standing at its base was Hulk. Except it wasn't Hulk anymore. This version moved with unnatural smoothness, eyes glowing with the same silent intelligence as the being T'Challa once saw inside the Wakandan tomb. His breathing was quiet. His steps were calculated. His posture regal, like a commander surveying a battlefield. He wasn't raging. He was waiting, preparing, thinking. And when the Avengers approached, not as enemies, but as obstacles, he reacted instantly. Thor descended first, lightning crashing through the trees. Hulk lifted a hand and bent the lightning around him like bending water, dispersing it harmlessly. Iron Man fired a concentrated gamma pulse beam, one strong enough to vaporize a mountain. Hulk stepped aside without effort. Black Panther tackled him next, claws glowing with Shuri's anti-alien vibranium coating. Hulk caught him mid-leap and threw him through 10 trees, stopping only when he hit stone. T'Challa groaned, pushing himself up. "He knew my angle before I moved." "Of course he did," Hulk said. The voice wasn't Banner's. It was deeper, controlled. A soldier reciting doctrine. "I know all of you. Your strengths, your fears, your limits. You built your reputations on power. But conquest is not about power." He raised one massive hand toward the sky. "It is about prediction." The ground shook violently. Clint arrived late, flying in on a prototype jet with Wanda guiding the aircraft telekinetically. He stepped out, bow in hand, blindfold over eyes. Even without sight, he could sense the tension in the air, the way the Earth's heartbeat felt uneven, like the world itself was afraid. Wanda spoke quietly. "He's not alone in there. The alien is amplifying Hulk's mind. It's become a battlefield." Clint nodded. "Then we need to find Banner and pull him back." "How?" He tilted his head, feeling vibrations through the canopy. "By hitting something no one else can see." Strange arrived next, hovering above the battlefield. With glowing symbols swirling around his hands, he began chanting a containment spell designed to isolate Hulk's mind from the alien. But the moment the spell connected, Hulk vanished. He reappeared behind Strange and slammed him into the ground with a shockwave that rattled the entire rainforest. Strange coughed blood, reeling. He teleported without magic. He folded space using gravity fields from the tower. "Correct," Hulk murmured. "Your tricks don't work on me anymore." He grabbed Strange by the throat and squeezed. And for the first time, Strange looked afraid. Black Panther leaped again, slashing Hulk's arm. The wound healed instantly, but for a split second, Hulk hesitated. His expression flickered. Not alien, human. Banner. T'Challa saw it. "Banner, fight it." Hulk stopped, just for an instant, before the alien surged back, forcing Banner deep inside. "You cannot save him," Hulk said coldly. "You gave me a body built for war. He gave me a mind built for rage. Together, we are perfect." He threw Strange into the tower, cracking its surface. The pulse it released knocked everyone down. Everyone except Clint. He stood in the shockwave, bow drawn, muscles trembling. He felt Hulk's pulse. He felt Banner's fading heartbeat somewhere beneath it. He felt the tower's frequency, a rhythm matching the alien's mind. He felt everything. For the first time since losing his sight, the world was crystal clear. He whispered, "I know where you are." And he fired. The arrow didn't hit Hulk. It hit the ground beside him and detonated into a sonic burst tuned to Shuri's discovered alien frequency. Hulk stumbled. He screamed. And for a split second, he dropped to one knee. Banner's voice broke through, raw and panicked. "Clint, don't let it build the third tower. It's not calling ships." He didn't finish. The general reclaimed control. But the message was enough. Iron Man staggered up. "If it's not calling ships, what is it calling?" Strange wiped blood from his mouth. "Not ships. Something worse. Something older. Something buried." Wanda's eyes widened. Is it calling another alien? Strange shook his head. No. His voice dropped to a whisper. It's calling himself. The third tower wasn't being built on Earth. It was being built inside Hulk, right in his gamma-irradiated DNA. A living antenna, a biological transmitter. The general wasn't summoning an army. He was summoning the rest of his own mind, the cosmic half of himself that existed outside physical space. If arrived, Hulk wouldn't just be possessed. He would become a god, and Earth would become the first planet in a new empire. The Avengers had seconds to make a choice. Kill Hulk, or kill the general. Because if Banner died, the alien mind inside him would die with him. If they failed, the Hulk would not be a threat. He would be a planetary extinction event. Shuri's voice echoed across the comms line like a final warning. The third tower is Hulk. It's alive. The signal isn't leaving Earth, it's fusing with him. His DNA is being rewritten in real time. Tony's HUD was already flashing red. The bio readings weren't human. They weren't even alien. They were hybrid frequencies, something that didn't exist in science. Something that wasn't supposed to survive. But Hulk was surviving it. Banner's silence had meaning now. He wasn't unconscious. He was locked out. And the thing wearing his skin was still building. Thor floated beside him, hammer ready. He's becoming a god. No, Strange muttered, still holding his cracked ribs from their last encounter. He's becoming a gate. The Avengers didn't have hours left. They had minutes. In Wakanda, Shuri worked without blinking. She wasn't building a weapon. She was building a counter-frequency, something that could isolate the alien's consciousness inside Hulk and burn it out without destroying the body. But the risk was enormous. If they fired it too early, it would do nothing. If they fired it too late, there'd be no one left to fire anything. She uploaded the targeting matrix to Clint's bow. Only his hands were steady enough. Only his senses could track the alien's fluctuating pulse. And only he had the one thing the others had lost: clarity. High above the Indian Ocean, the last battle began. Hulk stood at the heart of the third tower, now fully merged into his body. His skin pulsed with alien runes. His spine had begun to glow. His voice, when he spoke, was two voices layered on top of each other. Your world ends when he arrives. I am only the key. Wanda tried to trap him in a psychic bind. It shattered. Iron Man fired everything he had. It wasn't enough. Strange conjured a time lock. Hulk shattered it with a wave of his hand. Black Panther leapt in again, one more attempt to reach the man inside. But there was no hesitation now. Hulk slammed him down with a single blow and turned his back. Clint arrived quietly. No explosion, no fanfare, just one arrow, glowing with pure vibranium energy, tipped with a frequency pulse designed to target thought instead of flesh. He drew it slowly. Even from 300 meters away, he could feel the separation inside Hulk's mind, the way the alien had carved itself in. He breathed once, then fired. The arrow struck Hulk in the center of the back. There was no blood, just light, a ripple, like thunder spreading backward across time. And then something screamed. Not Hulk, not Banner, something deeper. The alien mind convulsed, twisting out of Hulk's body like vapor made a sound. It tried to leap into another host, but Shuri's frequency spike caught it mid-jump, freezing it in mid-air like a shadow caught in sunlight. Black Panther stood up, pulled the original spear from the Wakandan tomb, the one that had held the entity for centuries, and thrust it through the Phantom's chest. It vanished. Gone. Hulk collapsed, breathing, beating, alive. And the towers, all three, crumbled. The signal died. And somewhere in space, whatever had been listening, stopped. But no one smiled, because Earth had survived not a war, but a possession. And they all knew the truth. It started in silence, and it could return the same way. The rain came down hard over Wakanda, but no one moved. The battlefield was quiet. The towers were gone, the signal silenced, and Hulk lay unconscious, surrounded by the debris of what nearly became Earth's final moment. No one spoke. The alien was gone, not destroyed, but scattered. The frequency that once held its mind intact had been disrupted. Its thoughts were noise now, drifting through space like dust. But the damage wasn't over, because the betrayal hadn't started with Hulk. It started with T'Challa, and he knew it. They gathered in the Citadel. Thor, arms crossed, still bleeding from a last strike. Iron Man, with cracked armor, face exposed. Wanda, silent. Clint, quiet, behind his blindfold. At the center, Black Panther stood without his helmet. "I made a choice," he said. "Not to harm anyone, but to understand what came before us. To learn, to prepare." Tony didn't respond. He just looked at the shattered projection of the tower on the table. Steve finally broke the silence. "You buried the truth, and the world almost ended because of it." "I know. You could have told us, trusted us." T'Challa's voice didn't rise. "I trusted Wakanda's ancestors. That was my mistake." He turned to Shuri. "Next time you decide." Then he walked out. No ceremony, no defense, no crown, just silence. Bruce woke up 3 days later, eyes clear, voice hoarse. He didn't remember much, just flashes. A voice in his head that wasn't his. A hunger that wasn't rage. A feeling of being used by something far smarter than he could ever be. He wept, not because he was in pain, but because he could still feel it somewhere, like a scar inside his soul. "It didn't want Earth," he whispered. "It wanted me." Clint sat beside him, listening. "It got close," he said. "Too close." Bruce looked at him. "Next time, don't save me." Clint shook his head. "I didn't save you," he said. "Banner saved himself." The Avengers disbanded for a while. Not because of the fight, but because the fear that followed it didn't go away. Every team member had felt it, the invasion that never needed ships, the war that could begin with one mistake, one lie, one lost body, one man's choice to open a door he didn't fully understand. They had fought gods, titans, time, but they had never fought their own faith in each other. Until now, in a private lab, Shuri sealed the spear in a vibranium vault, the only thing left that had touched the alien's real form. But she didn't destroy it. Not yet. Because the signals were gone, yes, but the sky still hummed at night. And in some distant part of the cosmos, the scattered thoughts of the general were still moving, still thinking, still waiting to be whole again. And if it returned, it wouldn't come through Hulk or Wakanda. It would come through someone who was listening. Black Panther stood alone at the tomb. The site had been sealed forever, the chamber filled with obsidian and fire. But he still heard it, not words, not guilt, just memory of what he'd almost unleashed, and how close he came to choosing knowledge over the people he swore to protect. He placed one hand on the scorched stone. "I buried you once." He looked up at the stars. "I'll bury you again if I must." And then, in the shadows behind him, a pulse flickered across the wall. Not sound, not light, a heartbeat.